Are you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to The Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back to the Songwriter Show on Reality Radio 101. I'm your host, Sarantos. I'm a solo music artist who's been writing lyrics for as long as I can remember. Words just mean the world to me, and that's why I love hosting this show for you every single Tuesday evening. I strongly believe that every song is an important story. Tonight, I'm so happy to have on the show David Harrison. Based in the heart of the Adirondacks, he's an American singer-songwriter whose music is a raw, honest reflection of the human experience. Weaving elements of folk, country, rock, and alternative, David blends authentic storytelling with musical grit. His 2026 debut single, These Stones, introduces him as a vital, poetic new voice in the Americana scene.
And now, welcome this week's special guest.
Welcome to the show, David. How are you?
Great, thanks. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So tell us a little bit about what got you going down this road.
Well, I've been a musician, on and off, going to jams, things like that. And I just always loved music and I had some time to actually sit down and write some songs, versus just learning other folk songs and things like that. And, just found I really took a liking to that and, wanted to do more of it. So I just kept at it until, I could start playing out shows and, now I'm booking shows and, doing small tours.
Tell us a little bit about your main instrument.
Right now, my main instrument is guitar and my voice, really just stripping it down to the basics. That's kind of the direction I took when I said I'm going to focus on writing. I play piano too. And I thought, well, maybe I'll do it with piano. But the guitar is really the ultimate songwriting instrument.
How about your songwriting process? You want to explore that with us a bit?
Sure. Just looking over and, I'm a fan of the songwriter. So, I study other songwriters and their processes. And I don't want to say it's fairly standard, but, I would say it's, some common threads across other songwriters I've seen. It either starts with a lyric and a melody or, a chord progression. So either I sit down on the guitar and, come up with a progression and that kind of inspires the song, or the first lyric kind of starts the direction of the song.
Okay, and then do you work with a band? Do you work with other artists? How do you get the song going?
I approach it as a solo artist. I write everything for solo. I do have interludes and things like that in the songs that could be expanded in band type situations. I'd love to be able to play with a band, but of course, a lot more challenges come with that. So I just wanted to take everything off the table that could take me away from music in general, like, losing a band member or, trying to get a band or trying to find that right sound. When you really strip it down to just yourself, it's just you. Everything you don't have to really rely on, is the bass player going to show up or, these other types of situations.
Yeah, I've been there myself. It's torture. Even if you pay different guitarists, drummers, whatever it is, to be part of your band for rehearsal and then for shows, it's like
exactly
they're always bailing on you. You're always one short or two short. And I made a vow a few years ago that I'm not going to do gigs until I'm so big that people are tripping over themselves to play with me and I won't have this constant struggle.
Exactly.
Because it's stressful. It really is.
It is. Yeah. And that's kind of my joke, is if I could do it on my own and, actually make a little more money, then I can afford to pay, a band and, pay musicians to play with me. My
thing is I love singing, but also I love doing kind of like live comedy and stuff on the show.
Right.
So I don't want to be sitting there, I can play a little guitar, piano's my main instrument, little drums, but I'm not an instrumentalist. I'm not like the pro that can do it backwards, eyes closed. And so I don't want to be sitting up there with an instrumental. Like people do that, right. But those are more like people that are either rapping or people that are like DJs.
Sure.
And I don't want to be up there with an instrumental because, again, I want to pause. I want to talk between songs. I want to do all this stuff that I love doing. So it's just, it's a bummer.
Yeah. And that's, one of the challenges of being a solo player too, is, you kind of got to hold the rhythm and do the voice. And, unless you're a really, really good guitarist, you can start to layer in a solo maybe and do rhythm at the same time. And, and that's, I'm not at that level. I'm just a straight up rhythm guitarist. It's there to support the voice, to support the melody, the progression that needs to follow behind it. And that's kind of how I approach the guitar. And it's a great instrument. It's a great rhythm instrument.
Tell us about your fondest memory musically, whether it's in your house, at a gig, anything.
Well, I say I'm a lifelong musician because when I was, earliest memories I have, I could reach in and get the pots and pans and stuff out and, reach the spoons and start banging on them and, set them up like a little drum set and set them up and play them in the kitchen. And that's my earliest memory. And God bless my mother's heart, for letting me do that, just banging away. You could imagine what it probably sounds like, after days and weeks and months of me doing this. But, she just kind of encouraged it. And there was an organ in the house, and my dad would have harmonicas like in the drawers and stuff, and got a little Casio SK1. I don't know, kind of dating myself there. One of the first little keyboards every kid pretty much got it for Christmas in the 80s. And I just, I got into singing, and then I was kind of always a singer, just singing around and just moving on to instruments after that. I wanted to play drums, so when I was 18 and I could afford to buy myself a drum set, I did, and learn drums. And then I started taking keyboard a little more seriously and realized, I can actually play this, because, I didn't realize just thinking around on it on the house, really translated into stuff later. And also, I had a little computer when I was a kid too, so I learned to type when I was really young. Yeah. And I think if you can type real well, then that translates to the piano. You already got all, the different finger coordinations. They're already there.
Tell us about this song we're going to hear.
So this song is one of my more recent songs that I wrote. This one actually came with the progression first. I kind of found this neat little 3/4 kind of feel, and I just kind of let that, inspire the song. Usually when I start with a progression, I try to let the music, what does this kind of feel like? And I got to recording it, and this is a song that I actually wrote and recorded at the same time. And I find that if you combine the two, you really don't lose much time. You can actually do it in about the same amount of time. It doesn't take much longer to just write the song than it does to write and record it. So it was, a process in that as well, and kind of laying out the lyrics, and I kind of had this feeling of almost being, stuck, kind of. Maybe it was like a stuckish kind of feeling it was giving. And that's like what the Stones are. They're like these stones we're weighing that might be keeping us from, maybe going to the sea and living by the sea, and, doing these things we want to do because we're still weighing these things maybe from the past, or maybe in the present, or even the future.
All right, man. I'll tell you what, let's take a listen and we'll come back and talk some more, okay?
Yep, sounds good.
So check this out, everybody. Here we go.
Got this old notion to live by the sea, live with devotion, let it all be. Oh, I still wait these storms, and the time keeps passing me on. Each day I surrender into the night. Every morning I'm waking, give thanks for the light. Oh, I still wait these storms, and the time keeps passing me on. Oh, I still wait these storms, and the
Well, thank you for sharing that song with us, man.
Yeah, thanks for playing it.
You're welcome. So, how do you balance your career with other obligations, whether they're a mate, a job, children, family? How does that work for you?
Well, I'm kind of lucky because, I'm single. I don't have any kids. So, in a way, this is kind of a very selfish endeavor for me. I do have the time and, I can balance it, with my day job, so to speak, even though, I'm focusing on music full time. The income isn't quite there, so I do have some little day-to-day works that I can do. I do work in the IT space as well. So that's always been kind of flexible.
Yeah, that's it's good to have a flexible job, especially if it's asynchronous. That makes it a lot easier for you, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you have a favorite key that you use a lot on that guitar of yours?
That's funny because, most of my songs are in, just 4 or 5 keys. Really, the G, the key of G, the guitar just really lends itself to G. And, E, obviously, A, got a little bit of D. And then, some of the relative minors, like E minor, A minor. I really write for guitar when I'm on guitar, right, in the keys, like I'm not playing in like, B flat minor or some, some of these like off keys, I'm just straight up A minor, just the major and minors, don't flat anything, just keep it, real simple when it comes to guitar, because everything else, can kind of be added on that. And it, like I said earlier, it's just really there to support my voice, and the melody is, really what kind of can take a simple chord and turn it into something that sounds really nice.
How do you deal with writer's block?
I kind of try to keep a couple coals in the fire, so if I have a song that I might feel a little stuck on, I can kind of go to this one over here or go to that one over there. I do use some basic tools like, just like dictionaries and synonyms, and some rhyme finding tools and things like that. Depending on the topic too, I'll go and explore into the topic. I'll do some research on the topic, try to get some ideas.
Do you believe in your heart that there's a formula for hit songs, or do you think it's all about feel? What's your comment on that?
I think it's a little bit of both. And, I think discovering the formula kind of comes from, looking at these hit songs. You can kind of approach it that way, and sure, you can see that the G, E minor, C, D progression is probably one of the the most used progressions in recent music history. So it's funny because I study that too, and I look at like the top songs, and none of them sound like the other ones. So I think there's also there's that uniqueness that has to come through as well, even if you're just playing a G, E minor, C, D progression. If you can do it in a unique way, maybe put it on a 3/4 or whatever, a little shuffle to it, then maybe that's the formula. It's a little bit of what is and what isn't.
Since you're an IT guy, are there any apps or programs that you can't live without?
It's funny you say that because I just started developing an app. It's I could plug it. It's backsidebeat.com. And it kind of came out of, my frustrations with using, like Songbook Pro and these types of songbook apps, a place to kind of sit and write down, the quirks and limitations. So, it gives me a place I can keep all my songs. Also, I can share them easily, when I go to jams, if I want to play with other musicians, you don't have to carry your book around and that kind of stuff. So, it's trying to solve these problems that, musicians have. It's, when playing with new musicians, and trying to share your music easily. I do depend on the songbook. I'm kind of upping my game, so to speak, this tour, again, from looking at other songwriters and professionals and, how they play, they have, a click and cues in the ear, you can even play with backing tracks, introduce backing tracks, those kinds of things. Your set lists, your song lengths, their BPMs, the key that they're in, the chords, and you're just kind of ready to go. And when you're playing by yourself too, you need that kind of backbeat, that solidness to keep you. Because as a singer-songwriter, you can get really loose, and that can be good and it can be bad. Maybe slowing down and speeding up a little is okay, with the breath of the song. But, really knowing where that backbeat is kind of frees you in a bit. It's like being able to play with a band,
Yeah, absolutely. No, I get it. If there's a tattoo that could represent you and your music, tell us about it. Describe it to us.
I guess the first thing that comes to mind is just like, one of those like little infinite spirals that just kind of spirals all the way down in, because that's the musical journey. You can, once you cross kind of that, that line like a black hole has, I forget what it's called, but you can't escape the gravity anymore. You're just being pulled in. And so every day I can go to my instrument, I can pick it up and I can, I could try something new. I could, practice. I could try a new rudiment. I could, try to find a new progression. I could, try a different tempo or, different time signature. So there's always something to keep growing along with your instrument. So I think that kind of infinite spiral, would represent where my music is kind of coming from. I'm just diving in and getting out of the way of myself, and just letting the song come out. Sometimes, I might want to say this thing, but I can't make it fit. I can't find the syllable, I can't find the word. I can't find the sound of the word that needs to be there. So I have to change it completely. And that could change the whole direction of the song. I could just, and change the whole idea, the whole theme. So I like that process of it too, that, what could happen. You never know really what's going to happen when you pick up that guitar.
Do you remember when the time was that you were the happiest in your music career?
I'd say, that's a big thing for music too. I am happiest when I'm playing, I really do enjoy it. Even if it's like a sad or somber or, one of those kind of moody types of songs, there is a happiness about being able to dive into your art, your passion, no matter when I'm doing it. I do like writing the most, but that's the one that takes the most focus and the most time. It's really a kind of a commitment, to birth a song. You can't just do it in 5-10 minutes. You have to sit with it and you have to see it through the end, that process.
Tell us where people can buy or stream your stuff.
Right now, my debut single is streaming on all the major platforms. Some of those platforms you can buy it on. Others, you just play it with your subscription. You can play it on YouTube. I say go to YouTube. It's funny because they pay the best anyway for artists like me. Spotify and the big streams, you get a very, very small cut. You need millions and millions of plays to make anything. But, YouTube's the fairest one, and they take all the music now. It's kind of like a music streaming service. So
I want to thank you so much for being on the show tonight, dude.
Thanks so much for having me. It was great to talk with you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you again to everybody out there for spending a little bit of your precious time with the two of us tonight. If you wish to be on the Songwriter Show, please head over to the website and check it out. To everybody else, we hope your own unique story gets heard around the world, just like ours. My name is Sarantos. Please join me every single Tuesday evening on Reality Radio 101 to hear all these awesome artists share their fascinating behind-the-scenes stories right here at the Songwriter Show. I love you all. Have a great night.
Yesterday I felt alone, more so than usual. I couldn't remember what I've done with my life or where I was going, but I heard the crackle of a dying ember. And today I feel alone, more so than usual. I don't know that I've lived my life. Things only getting worse. There's no hint of an angel or a rainbow. I don't know how much more I can take. Not fair to those around me when I feel this way. They deserve better, more than I can give, more than me. They deserve to live. I thought God would never say goodbye. I thought He would always be my guide. I thought God would stand beside me. Yesterday I drowned in work, more so than usual. Ran ragged until the clock struck 10, and then my hell of a day was done, and I ran home to swallow some pills. Today I drowned in work, more so than usual. There's still no cure, but the doctor still tried. Friends throw me a smile as I sob in the shadow. I'm just not sure. I don't know how much more I can take. Not fair to those around me when I feel this way. They deserve better, more than I can give, more than me. They deserve to live. I thought God would never say goodbye. I thought He would always be my guy. I thought God would stand beside me. Circling the train, I can't fight anymore, can't fight the pain. Tired, nothing's changed, nothing's left. And all I want is to live in my bed. Why did you abandon me? Circling the train, I can't fight anymore, can't fight the pain. Tired, nothing's changed, nothing's left. And all I want is to live in my bed. I never wanted any of this. At night alone when I catch my breath, it all washes over me, all the heavy guilt, helplessness and failures. I hear the wave, I struggle and fight. Why did God let me wilt? I take one last breath before the darkness below takes a hold and doesn't let me go. At last I know it's time to give up, close my eyes, to go to the other side. I don't know what's there, but I don't really care.
Thank you for listening to The Songwriter Show. To keep the momentum going, head over to www.songwritershow.com and join our free music community of artists, songwriters, and producers. That's www.songwritershow.com.